In the words of The Rock, finally, Money Heist Korea has come back with part 2. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Entertainment. We are here to review episode 7, the premiere of part 2, Money Heist Korea. So Money Heist Korea is released in 12 episodes, but they decided to split it into 2. So you had a part 1, which was episodes 1 through to 6. That was released back in the summertime, and then they waited until December to release part 2, which is episode 7 through to episode 12, which will be the finale. So I kind of liked it at the time. After I watched the 6th episode and I realised I had to wait like half a year, I was pissed off. But now with hindsight, I'm looking back and I'm going, well, you know what, you got to watch half the season, and then you have time to digest, and then you have time to like anticipate and the build, and you can't wait. So I mean, it is good to like have a bit of a break, and then you've still got the second half of the series to watch, rather than just release all 12 episodes and then you watch them in like a day or two. So it does have its advantages and its disadvantages, its positives and negatives of either like releasing shows like this where you split it into 2 halves. Of course, you can have the Netflix way where they normally just release every episode, and then you've got like weekly releases as well. So I mean, different things for different people, I guess. I kind of like the way they've done this, but I also like weekly releases too, but that doesn't really matter. Let's move in to episode 7. We kick off where we left off from the last time, and that is with Moo Hyuk. So we know that he suspects that Sun Ho, who's dating Woo Jin, is in fact the professor. So he decides to visit Sun Ho's cafe. He says that he hopes he's not bothering him, but he's hungry and he thought he would call in. He's been meaning to call in, and Sun Ho is like, well, you know, since you're here, since you're a colleague of Woo Jin, you're more than welcome. Moo Hyuk says, are you sure I'm not bothering you? And Sun Ho's like, no, not at all. So he starts cooking him some food, and they start having a discussion, and Moo Hyuk obviously suspects him, but he's trying to, like, you know, have some small talk, trying to maybe like gain his trust, maybe not give away the fact that he's on to him. So he brings up why he hasn't opened the cafe, because it is a bit of it's a reasonable question, you know. It's a talking point. This guy has got a cafe here, and he's decided not to open it 2 months later after being ready to go. So Sun Ho explains to him that the coffee isn't quite right. It's not the way North Koreans like it, and I don't know if that's legit. It seems a bit of far-fetched that would be a reason why you would delay opening a cafe for 2 months, because the coffee isn't quite right. But Sun Ho gives his answer. Moo Hyuk, by the looks of things, doesn't believe it. He asks him where the bathroom is. Sun Ho tells him it's just round the corner, but Moo Hyuk, instead of going to the bathroom, manages to go upstairs. He sneaks upstairs, he gets into the professor's little, not his hideout, it's like storage room where he keeps all his equipment, where he keeps like his layout of the mint, and just as he's about to reveal the layout, he's got like a blanket over it. He's about to refill it, and then we see Sun Ho reach the door, and he's like, this ain't the bathroom. And Moo Hyuk's like, oh yeah, you're right. And Moo Hyuk kind of half pulls open the blanket that's covering the project, like the project of the mint, and he asks him what this is. Sun Ho says it's just a embarrassing middle-aged man hobby, and then he kind of just tells him to leave. So Sun Ho leaves to show him out, but Moo Hyuk, unbeknown to Soho, actually like picks up a piece of the mint puzzle that's like a little. It's basically like a little version of the, like a little, not a diagram, it's like a sculpture or whatever of the mint, but he manages to pick up like a little piece of the building block with tweezers or something. He like picks it up, I think it was tweezers, yeah, he picks it up in like a handkerchief so not to get the fingerprints on it, and he wants to get Sun Ho's fingerprints. So then he decides to go to the JEA police headquarters, where he's going to try and get DNA results on the handcraft blade that he managed to steal from Sun Wo's cafe. Now that Sun Wo's onto him, he calls Rio at the mint, and he tells him to intercept Moo Hyuk's phones, and he also manages to somehow like intercept his phone, and he puts in phone calls to Frame, Moonhook. So it looks like Moonhook's actually been phoning people inside the mint. So the professor manages to make it look like Moonhook is in with the criminals, when in fact he's not. And he also gets Rio to intercept his phone and block phone calls. So the guy cannot make phone calls. He cannot receive phone calls. He tries phoning Wu Jin, but he cannot get through. Wu Jin never receives his messages, so he cannot tell Wu Jin that he found anything out about Sun Ho. He cannot tell Wu Jin that he knows that Sun Ho is the professor, because his phone has been blocked. And once the police find out that Moonhook's been calling, there's supposed calls are coming from his phone to the mint, they send a bunch of officers to try and arrest him, but Moonhook manages to put up a fight. He escapes. He tries to get like a DNA copy. He tries to print out the DNA copy of the handcraft blade, but he can't. He just has to end up leaving the building and getting away before he gets arrested. So the professor, pretty smart, always outsmarts someone. When someone thinks they've got the professor beat, he just rises up and shows them who is really in charge. Then Moonhook goes to Wu Jin's house to try and contact her directly, because he cannot get through on his phone. But when he gets there, when he gets at the front door, the professor is there. He points a gun at Moonhook. Moonhook manages to grapple with the professor and turn the gun against him, but unbeknown to Moonhook, that he's been injected with some sort of like some sort of drug, and it just drops him to the floor, so it knocks him out. And then Moonhook proceeds to get essentially kidnapped by the professor, but unbeknown to the professor, he doesn't realise that Wu Jin's mother is in the house, and she's looking out the window and she sees the professor bundle Moonhook into the car. So at this point, he is a bit frantic, he's a bit paranoid. He knows now that if Wu Jin's mother calls her and tells her she's just seen her boyfriend Sun Ho throw this policeman into the back of the car, that's it, pretty much all over. That will be revealed that he is the professor. So he sneaks into the house, he's got a gun, he's aiming it at the back of Wu Jin's mother's head. He's about to pull the trigger. He hears Wu Jin phoning. He hears Wu Jin's mother calling her up, but Wu Jin's mother doesn't know what she called for. She can't remember why she phoned her daughter. And then at this stage, the professor realises that she has dementia, and he's got like relief written all over his face. He doesn't need to kill her because the old woman doesn't even remember what happened 5 minutes ago. So that was good, I guess. Then the professor recalls that Wu Jin actually once told him that his mother has an illness as a result of old age. So yeah, he realises that his mother does have dementia, her mother has dementia, and that she ain't going to remember anything, and that he doesn't need to kill her, which is good, because the professor isn't really the type of person that wants to kill anybody. So he leaves the house without killing Wu Jin's mother. Then we get Kim Sang-man. He's a politician, and he manages to broadcast a message to the thieves in the mint that he will speak to the president, and he will grant immunity to any thieves that bring an end to this heist. So he's trying to get the thieves to turn on each other. He's trying to get the thieves to essentially give up, and they will be given 100% immunity, and they will have nothing happen to them if they can bring this heist to an end. And then we see an unidentified thief. So one of the gang with a mask on actually get the phone, and they contact Sang-man, and Sang-man provides a condition that they will be allowed out, they will escape without any prison sentence, of total immunity, but the condition is that they have to kill the US ambassador's daughter Anne first, because Anne is the reason why they can't go in, that the police can't go in and use brute force. They're not allowed to go into the mint and use brute force because of Anne being the ambassador's daughter, and they don't want any harm to come to Anne. So then we see Anne goes to the toilet. The unidentified thief that was in contact with the Korean politician Sang-man follows her to the toilet. She leaves a note underneath the door telling her to meet her at the fault, and she will help her escape at 1 p.m. So Anne thinks that she's going to get out of here. Anne thinks that she's going to escape. She goes to the fault. She's like heading to the fault, but she changes her mind. She decides that she doesn't want to go there. But meanwhile, the rest of the crew figure out that the professor contacts them, and they figure out that there is someone who's turned, that they figure out that there is a rat, and they don't know who's turned. They don't know who has betrayed the group, but they figure out that the person has to help Anne escape, and they come to the conclusion that they're going to kill Anne. And they also find out that one of the bombs is missing, so some of the bombs that they took is missing, and they discover that the person is going to blow up Anne in the vault. So the chase is on, essentially. We don't know who is turned here, but all the thieves manage to try and they're trying to find Anne. They can't find Anne, and then on their way to the vault, it's Tokyo leading the way. She gets to the vault first, she opens the door, Anne's not in the vault, but there's 1 second left on the timer of the bomb, and Tokyo's about to get blown up here to pieces. But before that happens, we see Rio running from behind, and he manages to tackle Tokyo to the ground, and he saves her. And then they find out that Anne wasn't there in the first place. Anne went back to the rest of the hostages, and she said that she didn't want to leave on her own, and she didn't want to leave the hostages behind. So Anne's safe. We don't know who the traitor is yet, and yeah, the bomb didn't hurt anyone, so to speak. So Anne's safe, and she didn't want to go on her own. Woojin, upon discovering that Mihuk is supposedly betrayed everyone, she visits Sunho. She points a gun at him and demands that he shows her upstairs to the cafe, because she thinks that Sunho has something to do with it, because Mihuk suspected him. And she, I believe at this stage, she's more willing to trust her colleague Mihuk than trust the boyfriend that she's known for 2 months. So she wants to see why Mihuk was suspicious of Sunho. She tells Sunho to take her upstairs to show her what's upstairs. So they go into the room, which is like the room where he keeps all his stuff, but he is like rearranged it. He's hidden all his electrical equipment. He's hidden his handcraft of the mint and stuff like that. He's got rid of all that, and then Woojin just sees that it's like basically an empty storage room full of like cafe ingredients and equipment. She apologised. She says that this whole heist has got her flustered. She's not thinking straight, but Sunho tells her just to leave. He doesn't want to see her again, and he ends the relationship. So that's the relationship apparently over between Sunho and the professor. We then go back to the men. The thieves still do not know who is the traitor. They don't know who it is. Is it Oslo? I think it is Oslo. Is it Oslo? Let me double check. I believe it is Oslo. I always get Oslo and Helsinki mixed up. So yeah, Oslo. Oslo's got water. He's taking it to the hostages. He feels sorry for the hostages. He thinks that they're going to be thirsty, so he takes them like a big massive crate of water. But he doesn't know that Anne, the director, and Park Chulo have came up with some sort of plan. So they're planning on escaping, and they've managed to get Park Chulo and the rest of the security prisoners. They've managed to uncuff them, but Oslo doesn't know this. So he takes them the cases of water. Once he sets the water down, he notices something on the floor. He bends down to see what it is, but Parcholo is up, and he's got like a stick, a big stick in his hands, and he's about to swing it at Oslo at the back of his head. Then we cut back to the negotiations room. The room, the contact room, where the team have like everything set up, and Berlin thinks that the traitor might be Rio. He says that he's seen Rio's face when he saw his parents on the TV, and he thinks that Rio is trying to betray the group to get out, to get the immunity, and to go back to his parents. Rio tells the professor to fuck it. Not the professor. Rio tells Berlin to fuck himself, and that he's not the traitor. He'd rather die than turn his back on this team. So he kind of like storms off, and Tokyo and Berlin go after him, but Berlin says that he knows that Tokyo is the traitor. We then see Nairobi walk up, and Berlin says to Nairobi, what would you do if you seen your family in Nairobi? Says nothing, because money's more important to me than the family. And Berlin goes, yeah, we know Nairobi's not the traitor. So he's still adamant that it's Rio. He points the gun at Rio. He tells Rio, you need to admit that you're the traitor, or he gets the gun pointed in his face, and so he's basically going to get killed. But Rio says, go ahead, I'm not the traitor. So then Berlin points the gun at Tokyo and tells Rio that if you do not tell the truth, if you don't admit that you are the traitor, then I'm going to blow Tokyo's head off. But Tokyo's also got her gun pointed at Berlin. So Berlin's got his gun pointed at Tokyo. Tokyo's got her gun pointed at Berlin. Berlin's got one hand wrapped around the neck of Rio, and Nairobi's just standing there watching. And then we cut back to Wu Jen. She says that the negotiations are just starting now. Probably an important part that I left out the review is she found she found like a note at the start of the episode from the end of episode 6. When she looked in her pocket, she found a new banknote, and she found that like it was a new number. So it was like just a freshly printed note. So therefore, she knew that the professor's team were not in there. They were not like trying to get out straight away. They were trying to buy time with the negotiations so they could print more money. So she realizes this now, and she realizes that they're using electricity to print the money. So she decides to turn out all the electricity. And while the electricity goes off, Berlin's still got his gun pointed at Tokyo. Berlin's still got his hand wrapped around Rio. Nairobi's telling them all to like back off and let this go. And in the room with the hostages, like the security hostages, Oslo's still bent down, and we see Parcholo swinging the bat, and as soon as the bat hits the back of Oslo's head, that's when the lights go out, and that is when the end of the episode comes. So big ending to the episode with Oslo getting whacked from behind, and we've got Rio getting grabbed by Berlin. We've got Berlin pointing a gun at Tokyo, demanding Rio admits he's the traitor. We've got Tokyo pointing a gun at Berlin, and we have the electricity in the entire mint gone off, which means they have no lights, they have no ability to print the money, and the professor's team is pretty much fucked. So they're going to have to come up with a new game plan. But I thought this episode was really good. Really good way to start part 2 of Money Heist Korea. In my opinion, he had a lot of stuff happening at the start. Very good scene with Mewhook and the Professor, Sun Ho, with Mewhook suspecting him. Then we had Wu Jin finding out about the money, the fact they're printing new bills. I thought that was good as well. We had the Professor's team. I think the fact that they added in a traitor, and for the first time, I know the Professor's team haven't exactly seen eye to eye in the series. You've had Berlin, he's had his ups and downs with a few members of the group, including Tokyo and Denver, but the fact that there's an actual traitor now amongst the group it spices things up. There's someone in there that is wanting to go on the outside. They're wanting to leave with an immunity. They're wanting to screw over the rest of the team, and they even tried to kill Anne. So there's someone willing to do all that. And we ended the episode with Oslo getting struck on the back of the head. And will Oslo survive? Will Oslo be okay? Or is Oslo the first real victim of the mint, the first casualty, so to speak? So this was a really good episode. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I give it 8, my brother gives it 8, so yeah, we're giving it an 8 out of 10 here. I enjoyed this. It's been a long wait to see part 2, but it was worth the wait, and I'm looking forward to episode 8. So yeah, for me, episode 7, strong start to part 2, gets an 8 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think down below, and it'll be interesting to see now what happens, because the prisoners, the hostages, they're all ready to escape. They're all ready to go. The lights are out. The Professor's team are at each other's ends. They can't get along. They can't find to coexist together. So, meanwhile, all this is happening while the hostages are ready to escape. So yeah, episode 8 is going to be good. That's it. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Let me know what you thought of this episode. What was your rating? And I'm excited to see what happens going forward. That's it though from Money Heist Korea episode 7. Hopefully you enjoyed the review, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. But until then, been Fog Entertainment. Peace.